I'm Chris Wallace, and this is Fox News Sunday. On the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, thousands gather for a rally to restore honor to America. Now the man behind the event, Glenn Beck, speaks out on the country's future, his critics, and himself in his first and only interview after the rally. Glenn Beck, only on Fox News Sunday. Then the bad economic news piles up. With the summer of recovery losing steam, we'll ask our Sunday group what it means for the November elections. And our Power Player of the Week, saving lives in and out of the emergency room. All right now on Fox News Sunday. And hello again from Fox News in Washington. Well, it was part revival meeting, part patriotic rally, and there may have never been anything quite like it on the National Mall. They came by the tens of thousands, stretching all the way from the steps of the Lincoln Memorial down past the reflecting pool. Saturday's event, called Restoring Honor, was a tribute to our military and a call for Americans to return to core values. While there was no open politics, former Governor Sarah Palin made a veiled reference to a country headed in the wrong direction.
We must not fundamentally transform America as some would want. We must restore America and restore honor.
But the man everyone came to see was organizer Glenn Beck, who said this nation is at a crossroads.
My challenge to you today is to make a choice. Does America go forward and the American experience expands, or does the experiment fail with us?
When it was over, we sat down with Beck for his first and only interview after the rally. Glenn, welcome to Fox News Sunday.
Thank you.
What does this day mean? The tens of thousands, perhaps hundreds of thousands of people who attended. What's the message of the day?
Well, if it's just a message for the day, it's pretty meaningless. But if it is the line I actually cut from the speech was the last line, that we're 40 days and 40 nights away from fundamentally transforming the United States of America. If people awaken and turn around and see that we have lost our way, and they do something about it in their own lives, not through politics, but in their own lives, then it's an important day. Otherwise, it was just a nice day out in the sunshine.
I want to talk about this exact point that you're just mentioning. You talk about miracles. You talk about an end to spiritual darkness. You talk about America turning back to God. Do you feel that you have a role, and I mean this seriously, do you feel that you have a role in trying to save this country?
You don't?
No, I just ask questions for a living.
I forgot I was with an actual journalist. I think, Chris, that every American should feel that way. Whether because you're a journalist, you shouldn't become an advocate. I'm not a journalist. I think every American has a role in saving this country. Whether you're Democrat, Republican, Independent, doesn't matter. We all know the country's in trouble. We may disagree on how to solve it, but we all know the country's in trouble. And I've come to the place where I believe that there's no way to solve these problems, these issues. There's nothing that we can do that will solve the problems that we have and keep the peace unless we solve it through God, unless we solve it in being our highest self. And that's a pretty tall order.
You say and you emphasize that there would be no politics in this rally, and there really wasn't. But the fact is, and I say this as somebody who's been in Washington for 30 years, that may be a plus or a minus, that when you have a crowd as big as you had today, that makes a political statement. In the context of the November elections that are coming up, what do you think the challenge is to our political parties? What was the message that those tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people who came to watch you, what were they trying to tell our leaders?
I don't know what they were trying to tell the leaders. I know what the message that I think to get, I mean, look, we'll have aerial photography here shortly on the numbers, but I can tell you that it was in the hundreds of thousands. I've heard, let's be on the low end, 300,000. It may be as high as 650,000. But there were hundreds of thousands. You don't get that many people to come to Washington and stand there and have that kind of a moment without signs, without any political messages, for no reason. You don't do it because they're happy about things. That's what the politicians, the first message they should get. People aren't really happy with things. A good number of people are not happy with the direction we're going. The second message they should get, politicians, is where are you headed? Where are you taking? We want the truth. Americans just want the truth, and that's why I said in the speech, demand the truth from yourself first before you demand it from someone else. You've got to demand the truth from yourself, and that's what I challenged that group to do. What message they were trying to send, you'd have to ask them. The message I was trying to send was, be your highest self and stand in the burning bush, stand in the fire, because that's the only thing that's going to save us.
One of the big controversies about this event was the date, the 47th anniversary of Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech. You say it was a coincidence, but you also say it was divine providence because you wanted to reclaim the civil rights movement. Reclaim from whom? Reclaim from what?
How about who is reclaiming? People of faith. Reclaiming from politics. I've read headline after headline after headline this week that the damage that I have done to racial politics. My gosh, who thinks racial politics? Who's typing that out and saying, yes, the damage that has been to racial politics, and thinks that's a good thing? Race should not be in politics. Race is a negative that is a heart condition, quite honestly. And the people that, and I got a lot of heat this week from people saying, oh, you're saying that you're part of the civil. I wasn't even born. I wasn't even born. I lived in the Pacific Northwest. I can't even begin to relate, but I can understand it intellectually, and I can also begin to understand it in the heart when you see justice not done. We're seeing justice perverted on both sides for a very long time. Reclaim the civil rights, meaning people of faith that look at equal justice and look at every man the same. That's who needs to reclaim it. Not the politicians, not the parties, not white people or black people.
But Glenn, people
of faith.
But Glenn, the civil rights movement always had an agenda beyond just equality, beyond just, quote, justice. The full name of the march 47 years ago was the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. One of the speakers at the event was a labor leader, A. Philip Randolph, who talked about the injustice of people who live in poverty. John Lewis, then a student, now a congressman, said this at the event: we need a bill that will ensure the equality of a maid who earns $5 a week in the home of a family whose total income is $100,000 a year. The civil rights movement was always about an economic agenda.
Well, you know what, Chris? I think that is part of it, but that's a part of it that I don't agree with. I think the bigger part, the thing that we fail to recognize is the racial politics. The real agenda should be equal justice, an equal shot. The dream was judge a man by the content of his character, not the color of his skin. That's something that everybody can take part in. And I don't know if we've actually done that. We're certainly not doing that now with the Justice Department. When you look at somebody, the Black Panthers, and they are standing at the doorway, African Americans who experience that themselves should be equally outraged. And when you see that happening in a community and somebody is intimidating black voters, you should be equally outraged. Those are the main principles. Now, how we govern, that's...
Let me ask you about that, though, because Martin Luther King was assassinated when he was leading the Poor People's Campaign. He advocated what he called an economic Bill of Rights, guaranteeing everyone a job. I mean, you may say, well, that's not your civil rights movement, but it was Martin Luther King's.
Well, I'm not Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King would have to stand for Martin Luther King. Let his words stand where they are. What I'm talking about is, and look, Chris, I didn't intentionally put it on 828. The message is about God and faith. The message that I gave on the steps today was that you need to stand for those things that are right and empower the individual. Believe in the power of one person. Don't believe that you can't do it. Everybody wants a shot. That we can all agree on. Beyond that, it becomes politics. I'm not talking politics.
This is, I guess, as good a time as any to go back to what you said about President Obama last year, which in the coverage of this has been played over and over again. Let's watch it, and I'll talk to you after we hear it.
This president, I think, has exposed himself as a guy over and over and over again who has a deep-seated hatred for white people or the white culture. I don't know what it is. This guy is, I believe, a racist.
Question. After that, do you have any credibility talking about reclaiming the civil rights movement?
Okay. Let me go over this again on the reclaiming the civil rights movement. People of faith that believe that you have an equal right to justice. That is the essence. And if it's not the essence, then we've been sold a pack of lies. The essence is everyone deserves a shot. The content of character, not the color of skin. Now, when I've addressed this comment a million times, and in fact, I think I amended it this week, that what I didn't understand at the time was the influences on President Obama. And, you know, the white culture, read his own books. He writes about the white culture and how he struggled with it, et cetera, et cetera. But I didn't understand really his theology. His viewpoints come from liberation theology. That's what I think at the gut level I was sensing.